Welcome back to another Nordic Takedown video, and today Gustav and I are going to talk about our set 4 first impressions. And this video is actually Gustav's production, so he'll be guiding us through. Welcome, Gustav.
Hello there, and thanks for the
In
introduction.
case, yeah, in case any of you guys don't know him, he's been guest on the podcast and yeah, friend of the pod from Gothenburg, right?
Gothenburg, right?
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so the topic of today's video is just our first impressions of set 4. Gonna talk some about the new keywords, a bit about space and ground, and then we're gonna look at some decks that's been popping up in our Discord.
Yep.
So let's get into it. Uh, so let's start with some general thoughts from playing. The power level seems higher than set 2 and 3. I kind of noticed this during spoilers, that like
Yeah.
each cards that you see, it just feels more power in them. Can remember, especially from set 3, where the cards, like I really love the era from that set 3 was set in, but the cards were kind of meh, and in the end,
Yeah.
just a few cards were used in the newer decks. But
Yeah.
this, it's more exciting, and I like to attribute that to a couple of things. Uh, First of all, it's a lot of tribal support, both rebels, empire or imperial, first order, resistance, underworld. It feels like they're focusing on those.
Yep.
Uh, I also feel that a lot of the new leaders feel viable, uh, more so than earlier sets.
Yeah, and
Uh,
especially because they have a lot of tribal support themselves, like they care about keywords or traits, I mean. So that's super fun to build around. And with the piloting stuff, it seems pretty powerful too.
uh, Also, a fun thing with the set is it feels unique with so much space focus, and that will also transfer over to drafts. And I really think draft is gonna be so much fun. This set, it's gonna be so unique compared to set 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like
Do you think mostly because of the leaders or just because of pilots in general?
uh, space focus in general. Also,
Yeah.
the leaders in some capacity. But like I think most decks will be space focused in the drafts. In in Premiere, you will still see more ground or a 50-50 split. Not quite sure, but draft, I feel like that's where most of the decks are going to be space focused.
Yeah.
So that's just the first thought we have. I think we should move on to the first new keyword, pilots. So the first thing I think about pilots is the versatility of them. That you can both play them as an upgrade on a vehicle in space or ground vehicles, or as a pure ground unit.
Yeah.
And the keyword as it is, I feel it's a bit of a high risk, high reward. Because if you put them on a vehicle and that vehicle is dealt with, uh, especially if they can deal with it with one card, they get 1 for 2.
Yeah.
Um, so to make the best out of pilots, it will require you to make good decisions how to play them,
Yeah.
and I think that's a thing that would take a lot of time to master for it's gonna later into the meta. We will probably see how the sequencing works at best with this.
Yeah. I feel like, as you said, the high reward part of pilots is kind of because of the speed. instead of putting a, let's say, 3-cost card, a 3/4 or 3/5 on the board that is exhausted, you could pilot Darth Vader and get 3 power on the board immediately, which you can attack with. So especially with the pilot cards, they're kind of fast, but with the leaders, they enter ready either way, so it's not much of a difference in my opinion. But then, as you said, the high risk is like bounce and removal gets so much better.
Yeah, but when you play them and the opponent can't deal with it, it's usually you won on that on the spot.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's pilots. Let's move on to some indirect damage. And opponents will choose the worst outcome. Because indirect damage, yeah, you throw a number of damage against the opponent, and the opponent can decide between putting them on units or on base. And they will always try to make it the worst outcome for you, but it will test math. And I think like game 9 during a sector or a PQ, that math is gonna be hard to count.
Yeah. And especially you don't have the knowledge of what your opponent has in hand.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult to know what's the optimal way to place this indirect damage. And because in the late game, you might not want that much damage on base, maybe you're going to put them on your unit so they have like 1 or 2 life left. But that's going to make pinging so good.
Yeah.
Like having some events or some units that can finish off those damaged units because of all the indirect damage you've been dealing.
Yeah, and I also think like it could work the other way, that you just take everything to base and feel you're safe, and then just something comes out,
Yeah.
daring raid or
Yeah.
anything that could just close the game for your opponent, and you're like, what? Wait, how did this happen?
So I think, especially in the early game, you will kind of think of your life as a resource. Yeah, just put it on the base. But then suddenly, oh, this is too tight.
Yeah. But I feel like you can't build with only indirect damage. You need some regular, ordinary damage to at least trade.
Yeah.
So yeah. But it also has some really good combos, like the Devastator and Planetary Bombardment combo. Like dealing 12 indirect damage and getting to choose where you put that damage is so good. And there's also other cards that ups D, like +1 indirect damage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's I haven't played that much with decks with indirect yet, so we kind of see how it will feel when I get some more practice with them. But at least I like it, and
yeah, I feel like it's more about the cards. Some cards that utilize indirect damage can be good, but the mechanic itself is not like something very special. Like
no.
the card has to be good.
Yeah. So we see where it goes. Yeah. So let's move on to the next topic. And it's just a discussion on space versus ground. I think a lot of deck will have a hard time if they just straight up give up ground. Like card for card, like at least on the early resources, like up to 7, like you get more value for ground cards. Like a 3/3 for 2, there is no 3/3 for 2 in space. It's a 3/2 or a 3/3 with a
Downside.
downside, negative effect. Yeah, but space, they got that late game gas at least, so you get more for more resources, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that decks have to respect both arenas more than before.
Yeah.
A lot of decks could get away with just 3 Bright Hope. That's the only space I need. I don't think that will be the case anymore. It's hard to say.
It depends if you play removal also.
Yeah, it's hard to say for now how it will look. I think a lot of decks would be more towards 50-50 space and ground. Uh, like you can't give up either of them.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Some matchups will be a race, and then you might need some other tools to win the race rather than have a lot of those units.
Yeah, like
If you're playing a space deck that's trying to go fast with pilots and stuff, maybe you need some cards that can restore you a little bit, exhaust the other arena, bounce something.
yeah, and you like if you look at Django, which has been the space deck in the
Yeah,
Z3 meta, like it has tools to deal with ground, like tapping,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and like the the version we've seen in the end of the meta has been with a bunch of ground units. The
Yeah.
Death Star Stormtroopers and yeah, the three ones. Yeah. So yeah,
All right.
but how about we look at some set 4 decks that's from our Discord.
Yeah. So in case you're not in the Discord, we have a kind of a deck building forum there where you can make posts for different leaders or color combinations, and a lot of these leaders can play in many different colors. That's always really fun to compare. Um, yeah, maybe no right answer, but
And also
compare strengths and weaknesses.
to promote some, we are also streaming some in the Discord, and lately we've been playing some of these decks.
Yeah,
So if you're not in there, come join us.
yeah,
So let's go into our first deck, which is Poe. Poe ECL. I feel like this leader got a lot of excitement when it was revealed. Like the action to continuously play him multiple times feels really good. And then they also revealed the card Eject, which can take a pilot from a vehicle and put them on ground. And that combo is super strong with Poe because on turn 2 you could play Poe on a vehicle, hit, then play Eject, and now you have a 4/6 on ground, and you haven't even used the epic action. So when he gets
yeah.
killed, he just goes back and you can use the epic action later. Uh,
And I feel like cards like Heroic Sacrifice and Trench Run are really nice. So you might be able to kill that space unit which you've piloted with Poe, so you can get him out if you don't draw the eject.
yeah. Uh, as of now, I think it's a really hard deck to pilot. Like if you always try to go for putting Poe on vehicles, you kind of lose initiative, and it's an aggro deck. You kind of want initiative.
Yeah,
And otherwise, like right now, it kind of runs the same top end as Sabine with Wrecker, Poe, for a cause I believe in. Kind of see
yeah,
if the deck has to pivot a bit more to Rebels with like
yeah.
Fleet Lieutenant and Wing Leader. Yeah. So
Right.
let's see.
Next one.
Next one.
Yeah, this is a wedge deck. It's one of the maybe fastest aggro decks or aggro leaders from the new set. Because, as I mentioned already, when you put a pilot on a ready space unit, you kind of get the power immediately. And with Wedge, you can have a discount on these pilots. So you might be able to play 2 cards in the early game. Can be really powerful to go a bit wide, so you're not as weak to removal. So the key here is you want a space unit turn 1. So with Cartel Spacer or Cartel Turncoat, you can put a pilot that costs 2 usually because you can discount it. Or with a 2-drop, you can put a pilot that costs 1. But it doesn't really matter if you don't find the pilot turn 1 because you can't attack with the unit either way. And you see the curve is very low here, mostly odd costs. So that's why Bowshake is really good. It will draw you 2 cards very often, especially because you might be keeping those 2 costs in your opening hand. So your odds are already going to be like over 70% just with the list, and probably 80 plus when you get to play Bowshake.
Yeah.
So the thing the deck has to kind of uh, survive is, of course, bounce and removal that can really disrupt your speed. and you don't have answers to ground really, so you need to go fast. That's the whole game plan here. Just win by defeating your opponent's base. But you could try some stuff like capturing ground units, exhausting ground units, even playing swoop down to just defeat them. Yeah,
I think
that's about it.
this is the deck that made me see the power of pilots. Like one of the first games, I faced a Millennium Falcon with Chewie and I don't remember another pilot on it. I was like, it hits twice and I lose, and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chewie is really good.
Yeah.
But we have the new removal, no glory, just results, or what's it called. That can take out Chewie upgraded vehicles. Okay,
Should we move
next
on?
list.
Yeah, so here we have Admiral Thrawn in a deck built around when defeated abilities. Really like this one, triggering when defeated abilities twice. This deck is built around with especially Val. So when she's defeated, you get to put 4 experience counters on another unit. And she has a bounty, which says deal 3 damage to a unit. But that will only trigger once, whilst they, when defeated, will trigger twice.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you have some good interaction with that as well. Exploit with Count Dooku. That can be a good board wipe, and you get the when defeated effects and Dooku on board. It's really powerful. Ruthless Raider.
Yeah, I think you really need some tempo plays like that to survive this fast meta we're in.
Yeah. And it also runs the planetary bombardment and Kepto ship combo.
Yeah. And disclaimer, of course, all of these decks are just theory crafting. We've only been able to proxy a little bit and test them online as well. So the sideboards are mostly cards that could be interesting. It's like nothing here is tuned. It's very difficult to say what decks are going to be good and what aren't, because it's easy to say, okay, this is decent, this is going to be like okay. But to know if something's actually going to be good, you need to know the meta.
Yeah, like what you will see with these lists are a lot of new cards in them because you want to play with the new toys. But probably some of them will get removed and replaced with older cards. And just a note on you have Sham Syndilla there in sideboard, which could really help against the Han DJ combo. If they try to steal your resources, you can get one back via that card.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, so this is a Boba Fett list. I just had to build this when I saw the new Fire Spray, because it's a super cool card that can attack twice. And if you upgrade it with a pilot, it can hit pretty hard. And the problem is it doesn't enter ready, like the original Fire Spray. So I thought, okay, you want to pull this with triple Dark Raid, so it can enter ready. Sadly, you have to play it out of aspect, but that's kind of fine because Dark Raid already discounts the card. And then I thought, okay, Boba Fett, he is a pilot. You can play him on 6. So it kind of works out. This combo, of course, is very bad if your opponent exhausts your unit or anything else, like you want the combo to finish the game. So it's kind of built a bit aggressive, the list with some sneak attacks and triple dark raids, and you're trying to go fast. And indirect damage, of course, with the other new fire spray, and some other cards you see here. I think the Geonosian Patrol Fighter is going to be so good in the new meta to bounce those Falcons.
Yeah. Yeah, like if I build something yellow,
right.
I feel like I
go
put
to the next list.
Geonosis in it as well. Yeah, let's go to the next list. So it's the new Luke. And this one is paired with Tarkintown because Luke has a built-in ping. And pings work really good with Tarkintown. And because we run double aggression, we also get the innate aggression card. this deck has felt really, really good for me. I think it's because people are testing pilot decks, and this straight
Yeah.
up rips those. Like aggression defeats 2 upgrades, readies a
Ooh.
unit or deals 4 damage. It is so
Yeah.
oppressive against the pilot decks.
Yeah. There's a pretty cool new card in red that can defeat an upgrade and ping for 1 if you if you did defeat an upgrade. That's pretty cool also.
Yeah. And also Luke, when he deploys, uh, like if you deploy him on the new red 3, which can deal damage to a damage unit, uh, Luke can straight out just go through anything. I think he does 10 damage. If you manage to have
Mm.
something to just block, he just goes straight into it.
Yeah.
And also, I forgot the name, and I can't see the name of the card from here, but it readies a space unit with 6 power or less.
Yeah.
And that combos really well with the deployment turn. Deploy Luke,
Yeah.
hit, ready, hit again.
That's nice.
Yeah, and otherwise, lots of low cost units. You can flood the board fairly easy.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Right.
Now we have.
Yeah, this one is a very interesting deck actually built by Tobias Lind on the Discord. You would think Lando might be worse than Luke because he deploys on 7. He has to have a unit in both arenas in order to give a shield, while Luke just needs a heroism unit. But there's a big argument to be made here for the action economy, because Lando, you get to play the unit and put the shield at the same time. And this way you won't lose initiative as much, and you can even put the shield on any unit you have. So if you manage to pretty early on get a unit in both arenas, then you can place Sendilin units, for instance, and just keep giving them shields. So it's a pretty interesting deck building exercise. I haven't played this deck at all, but we just want to highlight it.
Yeah, I really like going at a leader like this because I think most people will say, nah, not good, not viable at all.
Yeah.
But seeing this, and I think it has some legs. We see how much legs it is, but maybe it can be one of those one of PQ wins we can see. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on, and here we have a Vader deck called Swarm Baby Swarm. With you, if you have a good eye, you will notice that it's some cards too short. It's because I can't add more vulture droids yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, this deck has been working, or a version of this deck has been working really good for me. Since the vulture droids were spoiled, I just had to build around those and the new invisible hand, which can help find those. Haven't been able to try it yet because the droids are locked to 3. But once I can like try with around 10, I think I'm definitely gonna give this a test. And you can also see here that I run some stuff to interact with ground, like No Good to Me Dead and Overwhelming Barrage. And yeah, like all yellow vehicle decks, it runs Triple Dark Raid to try and find either Invisible Hand or a Resupply Carrier. And also Vader's deployment turn can be quite crazy because he gives +5/+6. And like deploying him and then OB on that unit could be for 10-11 damage. It's kind of fun to do.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see this build actually, because the most I've seen have been focused on just getting plenty of 1/1s.
Yeah.
So here you're kind of going a bit more interaction with your opponent, not as fast maybe, and a bit more ramp too.
Yeah, playing more with the token generation.
Yeah.
Also been like, if I play this, I might want to go a bit more towards double command, because you get the what's it called, attack pattern delta, right?
Hmm.
So get an
Yeah, but you do lose on the raid, so
yeah. Yellow version has been the best so far for me.
yeah. All right, next list.
Let's move on. Get Han.
Yeah, this is another kind of new leader that's I'm testing just because it's a new leader. You of course all know about Han Yellow with the Han one, and I think that's going to be amazing in this. Of course, not the same shell, but um, just with some modifications from what we've seen in set 3. But the new Han is actually very fun to play with as well, because the +1 you can give is pretty consistent if you don't build with too many even costs cards. And actually, you're revealing the top of your deck, so you can play You're My Only Hope. I don't know if it's actually good, but I've had been able to put out the Mandalorian turn 2 pretty consistently, or even find the Enfys Nest at some point. And of course, the double yellow is really nice for Cunnings and Bouncers. And a new adventure can be very nice, either to get your hauler back when your opponent has stolen it, or to just exhaust and remove pilots.
Yeah, that's
Of
good.
course, it doesn't work with Chewbacca, but for all of the other ones, that can be pretty decent just for 2 costs. Or to, of course, replay your pretty good when played effects. The ambush with Han Solo, the bouncing with your bouncers. There's so many of them. Yeah, it goes pretty fast because of the Falcons, of course. And the new Han Solo Legendary is so good. Just having that first strike and attacking with your Falcons, it's amazing.
Yeah, new Han, same menace. I really
Yeah,
like this too.
and
Around the odd cost, it feels like some kind of deck building puzzle, which is just waiting for to
yeah,
be solved.
yeah, and I haven't even mentioned the flip of the leader. Like being able to ready 3 or even more resources pretty consistently is really nice.
Yeah, Boba told us that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's move on, and then we have here Admiral Piett deck, playing big capital ships early and winning. So this is paired right now with the thermal oscillator, 27 health base that gives you lets you build with 5 less cards.
Yeah.
And the idea with that is just to try to get to the combo of planetary bombardment with Devastator or any other ship as fast as possible. You just want that
Yeah.
clean way to that to win.
I
Feel it.
guess a resupply carrier or a ruthless raider is pretty nice, right? From 5 and then on 6 you can.
Yeah. What this deck kind of lacks right now is something good to play on 4 resource turn. To then be able to play overwhelming barrage, because you want at least 4 power to
Yeah.
get 6, so you can destroy 2 units. You really need that against
Mm.
aggro. I saw a new capital ship with 5/5, so it will make a
Okay.
7 OB. That's pretty good. So that should probably just go straight in here. We will see
Nice.
how good the 27 health base is. I'm not sold on it yet, but I like the linearity of the deck with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would try with 30 health HP as well.
Yeah.
And then you get 5 extra cards to put in also.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. That's gonna be it for today.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts on the new set? I mean, now we've tried to highlight some maybe powerful decks, but I feel like there's so many fun casual decks you can build as well.
Yeah.
Something I looked at was Hera with the Naboo base, because you don't really need more aspects because of Hera's ability. And what's he called? The spider guy, the Trench.
Yeah.
Trench with the green base that lets you droid manufacturing. So you can like redeploy him and just get 2 droids each time, play a lot of exploits and ramp.
Yeah. Also, like the Twin Suns gets buffed to 80 cards now, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun stuff to do there. And also, like, when we build, like, these decks are mostly built before, like, the big spoilers days that came
Yeah.
in the beginning of the week. So like, there's a lot of cards we even haven't looked at or tried yet.
Yeah. Definitely going to be fun to dive deeper into these decks and actually refine them to the meta.
Yeah, super excited for pre-release. It's less than 2 weeks now. It's gonna be really fun event. Just get some hands on the real cards.
All right.
Yeah.
Then thanks for making this video, Gustav, and for bringing me on.
Yeah. And thank you for our viewers for watching. And don't forget to jump in on Discord and join in on the conversation, or maybe build your own deck and showcase.
Yes.
So I hope
That'll be
we'll
great.
see you there.
Yes. Have a good one.
Bye.